The question is, how did I give myself permission to be more myself today? And I think I know that this is divinely timed in the sense that I'm not going to nerd out and go into a whole human design explanation of how open ajnas are designed to be uncertain. They're literally designed to play in the possibility of life and not be like in any one fixed way of thinking. I was going to say stuck, and actually yes, conditioning would warrant that stuck language. um but yeah, not to be stuck in any one way of thinking. And people who have defined ajnas, they have more of a tendency to be in their own thoughts, or using the same word, stuck in their own mindsets. For example, affirmations, I hypothesize, are easier for people who have open ajnas to align with, like on an energetic level, because they have an easier time deciding, oh, you're right, this thing that I was believing for years, you're right, that's actually hurting me. Let me try. You say, I just say this in the mirror, a few times a day. Some people say 17 seconds at a time. Like, you're just telling me that I say these affirmations, and like I'll feel the change, and I'll start creating different things. And they're like, heck yeah, I'm all for it. Whereas people who have defined hidden ajnas, or even just defined ajnas, they have kind of this process that they attack thing. And I say attack because the mind considers challenges and obstacles as problems. And so when I say attack, when I say attack, it's because the perceived problem is needing to be like addressed. So I feel like that's a really clear distinction. So this question of how did I give myself more how did I give myself permission to be more myself today? It very much aligns with this open ajna that I was just describing, and being able to play in the possibility, being able to recognize that I'm not here to be certain. And instead of judging myself for it, because now I have a new piece of information, now I have this new, like, now my mind feels like something has happened that should have gotten me more certainty or clarity relationally, or with whatever plan I've laid out, and now it's judging me and making me feel bad because I'm not more certain, when literally not designed to be certain, not designed to be in a fixed way of thinking, not designed to do that. I'm designed to play in the possibility. So what I wanted to share was simply that today I had a conversation that gave me insight about patterns in myself, and also insight about patterns that I had been consciously not had been, but subconsciously my mind was comparing and measuring and doing all of the things that the mind has been conditioned and praised for doing. On a soul level, I am not comparing. I'm not comparing. On a soul level, I'm not comparing anything, because when you work with a tool like human design, you start to understand that some stuff is just energy. Some stuff is just the mechanical energy of how um, two human stories talk to each other. This is actually what I work with when I'm doing the relationship blueprints with people. Like, if you have, right, if you have partner A, partner B, and you, as a person with, let's say, an undefined ajna, here to play in the possibility, you're coming to, in your own being, an understanding of like, you know what? I have tried to be certain about a lot of things in my life. Even if it was just like, even if it was like 80% certain, like people talk about the 80-20 rule and all of these different things, like even if it's just like that amount of certain, like I'm okay with that. And so as someone who has an undefined ajna, completely open ajna, who's been living by this certainty rule, and then they learn suddenly, oh my gosh, like I'm not designed that way. Let me try it this other way. And they go into the energy of someone who is also not designed to have this fixed way of thinking and have this open ajna and play in this possibility. So much so that like silence is completely okay because you're really just not thinking about anything. That's a different energy than going into a situation where someone is literally thinking all the time. There's processing all the time. There's looping, there's shadow energies of doubt and psychosis and confusion. Like there's literally those three gates up there are prongs to the universe, questioning and shooting off cannons, if you're into Abraham Hicks, shooting things into this vortex of desire about, you know, do I actually like this? Do I want this more? Like literally this questioning all the time. And someone who has this open ajna, which by the way, when you have undefined parts of your chart, when you have open parts of your chart, the energy that is coming into that space becomes amplified. So when you have parts that are open in your chart, this is becoming a teaching lesson too. When you have parts that are open in your chart, you learn a lot of wisdom about recognizing what energy is yours and what energy is not, so that you can have discernment and not beat yourself up. For the biggest example that people use is the solar plexus. If you're around someone with a defined solar plexus, and they're constantly sad or they're constantly up and down, but you don't have a defined solar plexus, you're going to notice when you're around them in that energy, like, oh, why do I feel like sad? Why do I feel like guilt? Why do I feel these things? And if you have like markers in your chart, like for example, 30 is the gate of passion. And so this is a very emotional energy gate. And if you have that filtering an undefined ajna, I'll show all of this at some point, I'm sure. But if you have that filtering the energy, some stuff, like some being in that defined solar plexus person's energy is simply just gonna, if you have any feelings of sadness, any at all, you're going to feel their feelings of sadness, which is going to be amplified. And then it's also going to activate your own feelings of sadness and heaviness and anger, like all of those different things. And that's going to be amplified because it's just ricocheting around. You got somebody else's energy activating your energy that like you don't normally deal with. Like it's a whole energetic thing. So when you go back into the mind, going back to, you're in the energy of someone who literally doesn't have anything defined up there, and it's very quiet, it's very peaceful, it's very much not a need to overthink. And then you go into the energy of someone who literally is designed to think, to process, to inspire, like, and it becomes a thing where just from an energetic standpoint it's different. No one can really say, and this is why I say like the mind, I notice, measures, compares, wants to track progress, all of these different things, but like at a soul level, I have compassion and I realize that we're all designed differently. So you can't say, oh, being able to think about nothing in the energy in the presence of this person is better than overthink, because some stuff it is beautifully divine to have access to thinking energy, process energy to solve. And some stuff you just don't want to overthink. So it's just different. It's different energy. And so today I gave myself permission to be in the energy, my energy of uncertainty, and realizing like I had a conversation today that I thought was going to solidify a relationship standing so that I could move on with more certainty in a different relational direction. And while I did get data, I did get answers to questions I had been wondering about. While I did get answers to all of those things, it didn't end badly. So, do I have certainty? And it became this thing that I was about to beat myself up over. And I was like, it's okay to not know. It's actually okay to not know. It's actually okay to detach. And this is me bringing in some of my Gene Keys language of what keeps me healthy in my radiant sphere. But this looking at the energy of when you have expectations about a situation, when you have preconceived ideas about what you think things should look like, and the gift energy of that shadow energy of expectation is detachment. Being in a state of flowedness, as I'm coming to learn it to be, and not needing certain percentages. Because when you're able to detach from any expectations that you have, that's when the city, the highest frequency, comes in of celebration. You're able to actually celebrate what it is that you have in front of you. Some people might swap out, without understanding that this is Gene Key's language, some people might swap out the language of celebrate for gratitude. And so it becomes hard to be celebratory or grateful for what you have in front of you when you are expecting something to come from the situation, because you're going to constantly be measuring, okay, well, are we there yet? Are we here yet? Are we here yet? And it's one thing that I've learned, and this is from a pattern that I noticed in myself. I have an almost 9-year-old daughter. I have known her dad for 11 years. So for 11 years, I have unknowingly been caught in this pattern of my fifth line energy, seeing potential, seeing and being able to envision my desires fulfilled, not actually looking at the human being in front of me, not actually all the time understanding that they're in their own patterns, understanding that they're in their own conditions, but just being attached to my envisionment of how I think the relationship should look, or how I think this person could make me happier if they just changed X, Y, and Z. And when we have had moments of conflict that we were able to work through, suddenly in those moments where we're able to really get through something that's like tough, the things that I was expecting or having an envisionment about now have new data to brush up against, of like, well, that's what I thought I wanted, but this actually feels nice too. That's what I thought I wanted, right? Inner child language. That's what I thought I needed to feel safe. But actually, this played out a different way that I wasn't expecting at all. And I still feel safe. What's this? And to just get curious instead of being attached to, oh no, it can't. Like this may have worked, but like it's not going to continue to work. I'm going to keep going back to the way that it was. So, like I was saying, without going off on the tangent that I just went off on explaining that particular piece of the pattern, I recently noticed in myself that it's Dr. Karen Curry Parker talks about it all the time when she talks about like physics. Scientists can either measure the movement of atoms, of the physics, the science, I forget exactly the words now because my brain is like, but they can either measure the movement or the location, but not both. This was something that I had to see as a pattern in myself. And then once I started seeing it as a pattern in myself, I started to see it in other relationships. So this 11-year pattern of, let's call the location. How do I want to explain this? Let's see. So we're looking at a line. We're well start there. What is even happening to words? So I've had this envisionment, this goal of what I have, I guess, thought I wanted out of a partner, out of a relationship. And then I've had moments where I vocalize, I want this thing. And I can see the pattern where now that I've vocalized, I want this thing, I'm like, okay, so it's happening, right? I assume, as Neville Goddard, I assume the wish fulfilled. So in doing that, there's a certain amount of trust happening of like, okay, we had a conversation. Things are gonna change. And then you let go. To keep healthy, you let go of attachment and you let that person make the changes that they want to make in order to try and meet this goal. What ends up happening is the location is now defined. The person starts moving towards that thing, and we are designed differently. So I have recently started voice coaching. And she prayed, like, for the past 2 sessions, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you picked that up so quick. Like, I told you, like, do this thing, and then you did this thing. Like, you did it." And I guess maybe that's the open Oj, I don't really know. But it could also be my open throat because we're literally working with the voice box. But anyway, she prized me on how quickly I'm able to take instruction and like move with it, to get information and move with it and actually try it out. And this person told me to do this thing, I'm doing it. And so as a projection, as a mirror for people, sometimes I forget that other people just move slower. And so when I start to measure the movement of how fast this person is meeting the goal that I have now set, or the desire that I've now spoken, I am taken out of the energy of holding on to the vision and the faith that this person is actually going to meet the goal because I'm measuring. I'm being, chat, I dislike it. I love it, but I also dislike it when chat calls me out and it's like, you want to, discernment is cool, but hypervigilance is not. Discernment is healthy. Hypervigilance and measuring every single move, every single step, every single interaction, every single emotion that arises, like, that's not healthy. That's hypervigilance. Questioning every single fear or nerve that comes up and like, oh, like, that's not gonna help me hold the faith that this person can actually meet the desire that I'm asking them to aspire to. And so then it's like the location doesn't move. The location is still like, and the person is still like working towards it. But now, because of impatience, is what came through. Thanks, guides. Now because of impatience, I'm like, well, this thing isn't happening. And while I'm measuring in hypervigilance all the things that are not happening, what in my eyes to get to the thing that I said I wanted, I'm over here like wanting new things, and other things are coming into my field and making me be like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's this? Should I really be waiting for the slow movement? And it becomes confusing because you cannot measure like location or movement, not both. And so what happens in that confusion is now the goal changes, because now I've allowed myself to want more, to play in the possibility more. And so then the goal moves. and the person is still moving. And then they get to the spot of like, wait, I thought this was it. And now it's like, well, now that all these other things that I understood are happening, like now it's kind of moved a little bit. And the person's like, oh my gosh. And so this piece of the location or movement, not both. Like I realized in this process of figuring out what it is that I actually want out of a partner, I am actively riding my wave. I am actively figuring out what my body feels is safe enough to engage with, what my nervous system is okay with. I'm learning that the emotional piece, like I used to hear all the time that guys can just have physical affairs with people and not have emotional connection. And I'm like, whatever. Women can do that too. I'm pretty sure like there's, at least one or two out there. And maybe those people are sacral beings who don't live their life by emotion and feeling being their strongest sense as I am designed to. And for a little bit, I tried to assuade that hypothesis that women can just have, like, I tried to disprove it of like women can't just have physical. And I'm learning like emotions are a thing. Emotions are actually a thing. And so in now having this new data, well, I'm like, well, now what I was operating as of what I thought I wanted has to change a little bit because I didn't like that there were just different like categories that I was fitting people into. And now those categories, some of those categories are eliminated, some of those categories are strengthening. And it's like, I don't actually know still. Like if someone were to ask me today, I would have a list of things, probably of things that I like. I definitely have a list of things that I don't like that I could probably NLP into things that I like because that's what you resist persists. So you don't want to identify things that you don't like repeatedly because then you're just loading your subconscious with things that you don't want to do. It doesn't understand negatives. Anyway, so today I gave myself permission to be uncertain, to realize that I had an expectation of certainty, of clarity, of having a conversation that would help me move, that would help me feel certain enough in my body. And really, when I check in with my body and I realize where I am and that I don't have any answers, my body is actually very calm. My mind is freaking the F out because it's like, what do you mean you don't know? Like you have to decide soon. We're running out of time. The mind always believes that it's running out of time somehow. That if it just sits and waits for a day, 2 days, a week, a month, what? Outlandish. That like something's gonna die off. Like something's gonna expire, and it's like, actually, we can just kind of be in it. We can play in it. The body is feeling grounded. The body is saying, you are not stressed. As a matter of fact, if I check in right now, because I am curious, I did check before I came on to this live. I'm very proud to say that my stress has not peaked today. I wear an Oura ring. And it lets me know when I'm stressing, when I'm restored, when I'm relaxed, when I'm engaged, when I'm working out. And to see that I have had at least a couple of conversations today where just emotionally, from a nervous system perspective, I used to not be well after those conversations. Like somehow in that conversation, my inner kid is getting triggered. I'm overriding it. I'm, pushing it to the side. I'm doing something on a bodily level, not just in my mind overthinking, but on a body level that is having markers of stress. And I can like looking at this, knowing that I had two conversations that old pattern me would have considered stressful, and I'm not stressed. Having just Mother Nature, because this is something that I plan to talk about more. as we continue on with these 30 days, because I know it's going to be a theme of me and Biscuits. I have an outside cat named Biscuits, and she ended up giving birth to 4 babies on Mother's Day. On Mother's Day. We only saw one on Mother's Day, and it was meowing in the window. And then in the morning, Monday morning, when we checked where the one kitten was that we saw, there were 3 other ones. I noted that at least 2 of them looked like they were viable, healthy, etc. And by this morning, that number had dwindled down to 1. So to even have like feelings of guilt of like I should have been there more, or to have, and to also recognize that Biscuits is a mom. Like she has kittens, and like I'm not the kitten. Like I don't need to be in the windowsill with them. That's like her job. And like working through all of that, and not tying, like it's okay to feel sad that they didn't make it. And also from what I read, outside kittens, young moms, they don't have a high chance of survivability, especially when it's cold. So going through that experience, going through the experience of like maybe having to bring the one kitten here because it felt like Biscuits had just given up on her baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Biscuits, it lives. And so, just kind of taking it in, warming it up, going through that kind of like, I mean, albeit when you live life by your emotions, like that could be a stressful situation, not knowing like this little thing is like meowing and you don't know if its mom is going to like abandon it. You don't know if you have what you need to like feed it, if you need to take over it, not knowing if it can stay inside. Like there's so many things, and it literally is life or death. This is little baby neonate, because that's what they're called, baby kittens, neonates. It's your word of the day, fun fact if you don't know it. So but just going through that process, I had envisioned, this is why we don't get into our expectations and we learn to detach and celebrate, because I had envisioned in my thinking that I was going to bring the kitten here, that I was going to be introducing little baby kitten to you right now, which I am. I have a video, but I thought I was going to do it live and in color. But what actually ended up happening was little baby neonate was in the what do they call those things? Cat carriers, in the cat carrier. And I let Biscuits in because I was like, oh, maybe this is time for a bomb. Biscuits went into the cat carrier and took her baby back, went under the fence and went back to the windowsill. And I was concerned. So I stayed for like 10, 15 minutes because I was concerned. I'm like, Biscuits, that's fine. You want to be mom and take your baby back, but like you can't leave this baby alone in the windowsill because it's 50 degrees. And apparently now that the other ones have died off, temperature is like the biggest concern right now that we're watching for survivability. Can't just leave your baby. And so to see that she was nesting with it, cuddling it, it was trying to find out, which teat works and everything like that. I was like, oh my gosh, I am celebrating because I've detached from my envisionment of being like, oh, look, a baby kitten. I have detached and I'm like, Biscuits, that's great. It felt like you totally discredited your baby. And now that it's meowing, it's moving, like, because I can only imagine, especially after, shameless plug, without shame, in my book, there is a story of someone named Roz, and they go through the experience of having, I believe it's 30 plus. I'm not going to put an exact number because it's been 2 years since the book came out, but 30 plus miscarriages. And so I can only imagine from the perspective of Biscuits, like, I tested this windowsill. My one baby was fine. I brought my other babies here. 2 babies died. One baby is not really moving that much. It's over here by itself. It's cold. It's non-responsive. It's not nursing. I don't know which of these. And what ended up happening was when I took the little one inside to warm it for a bit, when I came back out, Biscuit had actually moved the other two babies that were dead. So I don't know where they are. But like it was just a very confusing up and down situation, literally, like I said, life or death. And so to even see that I was dealing with that this morning, I had a conversation while I was outside, at a conversation like from a nervous system perspective, it feels good to say that today is about giving myself permission to be uncertain and to actually watch the bodily proof and trust and acceptance through data of my heart rate and whatever else it measures to put into the stress markers of like today has been full of uncertainty relationally, um physically, like traffic is all the things. There's been uncertainty. Life is uncertain. No. And so to see that today has been a marker of nervous system trust, of bodily trust, despite the mind's freaking out. This is a good thing. This is a good thing to celebrate. I want to show you the kitten because I did make a video. Here we go. Okay. We're not naming it yet. What is it? Little itty bitty. I don't think it meows in this one. But yeah. That's little itty bitty neonate. And this is Biscuits before I left. About to go head there now. She's like, why are you looking at me with my babies? What's up? What you doing? So I'm excited to go home shortly so that I can eat for the first time today and also check on them. Check on my baby because she should be getting home from school. And my sweetheart. That is it for today. I thank you for your presence, for your energy, for your attention. Today is day 4. Permission to be uncertain. What's tomorrow's permission to be gonna be? Not sure yet. We're playing into it. Today is about being in flow, being okay with uncertainty. This just in. They're still in the window well. Thank you. So many halts. Okay. I will see you tomorrow. Boop, 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 boop.